The 2025 regular season has officially come to an end, but it ended on a bright note for the Hawkeyes as they shuck Nebraska in the Heroes Trophy game 40-16 over there in Lincoln, Nebraska. Complete domination for Iowa brings them up to 8-4 on the season. To end the regular season, we're still awaiting that bowl opponent. But what a game it was for Iowa there on the gridiron, taking care of business in a big way versus one of your bigger rivals. I mean, you can't script it any better. One of my favorite Black Friday traditions is eating those Thanksgiving leftovers, doing a little online shopping, and then watching Iowa just kick the crap out of Nebraska. It's a shame that rivalry is not going to be played on Black Friday next year because it's so much fun beating Nebraska on Black Friday. But we'll just do it in week 5 next year, and it'll be all right. This is Iowa Primetime Live, Iowa at the Voice of College Football. My name is Zach Heine. Thank you for joining me here tonight. Make sure you're following me on X at Zach_Heine. You can follow my written work at Hawkeyes Wire. We are deep in basketball, men's and women's coverage, and some wrestling coverage as well, some Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark stuff, and obviously any football news that comes out, transfer portal, signings, commitments, bowl game, everything like that. So make sure that you're checking out Hawkeye Wire for your one-stop shop for everything Iowa athletics. So of course, make sure you're following the Voice of College Football at the VOCFB. Conference championship games this weekend. College football playoff bracket officially revealed on Sunday. So there's going to be a lot going on here on our main channels and all the team channels as well. So make sure that you're tuned in to that this weekend. Big weekend in college football. Unfortunately, Iowa not playing conference championship weekend. But was the season successful? And if so, how much? And if not, what could have, swayed it to be more successful? That's kind of our second half discussion tonight. It's just a season in review. We're going to take a step back and look at Iowa football in 2025. What did they accomplish? What did they leave on the table? How are we feeling about 2026 and heading into next season? I think it's a really interesting conversation that we're going to have tonight. It is our call-in show as well, so I'm going to throw that link in the chat right now. So anyone who wants to hop in and talk about the Iowa-Nebraska game, the Iowa-Michigan State game, since we haven't talked since that game happened, the season as a whole, a bowl game, next year's roster, whatever you want to chat about with Iowa football, that link is in the chat, and you're just able to put that into your browser and hop on, and I'll bring you on. We can talk about whatever is on your mind regards to Iowa football. But before we get big picture and talking about the season as a whole, let's take some time to bask in the glory of a blowout win over Nebraska in the game for the Heroes Trophy. I'm going to pull up the box score here right next to me. 40-16 was that Iowa victory. We'll start with that Iowa offense on the left side. Mark Gronowski, 9 of 16 for 166 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks through the air. That honestly, that might be Mark Gronowski's best passing game in an Iowa uniform, if I'm being honest. He hasn't topped 200 yards in a game all season, but to get 166 on only 16 attempts and only 9 completions, I mean, he averaged well over like 18 yards of completion, averaged over 10 yards per attempt. He was taking some deep shots. He had a lot of time to throw. Credit to that offensive line, who we'll talk more about in a little bit. But they gave him a lot of time to throw and to work with everything, and he made the most of it, hitting on some big plays to his receivers. And this was probably one of his most efficient passing games in terms of picking up big yardage, completing a respectable amount of his passes, not turning the ball over, throwing for a touchdown. Like, this was a really nice game through the air for Mark Gronowski, probably his best game as a passer this season for Iowa, which is great to see against your biggest rival and against a Nebraska team that we knew couldn't stop the run, but have been pretty good against the pass overall on the season. They were not great on Friday versus Mark Gronowski. His receivers, DJ Vanami, 3 catches for 91 yards and a touchdown. He had that it was that first touchdown for Iowa through the air that kind of got them going into the game after an early field goal, and that really helped to break the dam and break the seal for this Iowa offense, and they never looked back from there. Reese Vanderzee, 2 catches for 53 yards. He had another insane sideline grab, one-handed catch. Reese Vanderzee, we'll talk about him as we preview next year's roster, but that's a guy who's got to be a focal point next year. He is a number 1 receiver, and you kind of wish you got to see what Iowa looked like early in the season if he hadn't missed the first 5 games. But Reese Vanderzee, good to see him making plays, and I mean he's really good. He needs the ball more. He needs the ball more. Those were really the 2 main receivers. Sam Phillips had 2 catches for 12 yards, 1 for 9 for Dayton Howard, 1 for 1 for Zach Ortworth. DJ Vanami, though, another great game for him. Redshirt freshman, recently put on scholarship, I think in August, like right before the season began. He was put on scholarship, and that kind of opened my eyes to, okay, this coaching staff thinks they got something here with this freshman tight end, and in a season where, you know, Addison Ostrenga goes down in week 2. We kind of thought he was going to be the guy in that tight end room to make some plays, and he goes down for the season in week 2. Zach Ortworth, someone that I was pretty excited about preseason, just never really got into a rhythm this season. And DJ Vanami, I mean, what a breakout candidate he was as a freshman. I mean, I think that's Iowa's next, you know, great tight end. I think it honestly wouldn't surprise me if we're sitting here in 4 or 5 years and it's George Kittle, it's Noah Fant, it's TJ Hawkinson, it's Sam Laporta, and then it's DJ Vanami as well, as a guy who's maybe in the league making some plays. It's still early in his career, but really liked how he's come on the last month in this Iowa passing game, and hopefully he's more of a focal point next year. I know that Ostrenga is returning, Ortworth can return, Thomas Meyer is going to be involved as well, so kind of a crowded tight end room, but I think DJ Vanami's kind of separated himself from the pack a little bit with his play in the last month, and he was great on Friday against Nebraska. Running game, Kamari Moulton. Kamari Moulton led the way, 18 carries for 93 yards and 2 touchdowns. Wish we could have gotten in that 100 yards on the ground. He's a guy who's deserved it, and he's come close a couple times this year. Just short today, on Friday, but he looked really good, long at 34 yards. Mark Gronowski on the ground, 13 carries for 64 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. He did set some Iowa records on Friday. He became the single-season rushing yards and rushing touchdowns leader for a quarterback in Iowa history. I think he's got almost 500 rushing yards and 15 rushing touchdowns this year, which is just insane. It might even be 16 now. I mean, he's only 5 or 6 off. I mean, he's only 4 or 5 off from the all-time single-season record, regardless of position. What a season for him on the ground. Nathan McNeil, 8 carries for 35 yards. Love seeing the freshmen there getting involved. 2 for 12 for Jazz Patterson, 2 for 10 for Terrell Washington Jr. So we saw Iowa's, outside of Xavier Williams, who was hurt, we saw basically their entire stable of running backs get some carries. Iowa as a team rushes for 213 yards on 4.6 yards per carry, 4 rushing touchdowns against what was a pretty good Nebraska rushing defense, you know, heading into this game, and Iowa really took advantage of that. No doubt being able to hit some big plays through the air helped them out there, and Iowa took, you know, taking care of business, and that's what you like to see. You know, offensively, we've seen some steps this year from Iowa on that side of the ball, and that continued with this game on Friday, and it paid off in a big way. Hanging 40 on Nebraska. I get 2 of those were from the safety, but 38 offensive points on Nebraska on the road on their senior day. Big statement from that Iowa offense. It should really give you some confidence heading into next season, even with the quarterback change, some offensive linemen heading off to the NFL. And but I think under Tim Lester, I'm liking the direction of this Iowa offense going forward. And Friday was really a great step forward in that process. I got a couple people ready to hop in to the show here, so we're gonna do a triple box here. We haven't done a triple box in a while with Josh off the show, but these are 2 of my favorite callers right here. 2 guys that, you know, are passionate Iowa Iowa athletics fans, and they know what they're talking about, maybe even a bit more than me. So we'll bring them on here to talk about this game and Iowa's 2025 season as a whole. T. Hink and Kelvin Fisher. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight? It's always great doing the show after beating the crap out of Nebraska, I have to say.
Indeed it is, man. I love beating Nebraska. It's circled every year on the calendar. It's always great beating a good old little brother, I guess you could say, out west. So glad Iowa got it done this year. Beat them by a lot. So
it was fun. It's always fun. I'm sad that this game isn't being played on Black Friday going forward. I'm going to miss it. I think Iowa plays Washington on the road the last week of next year's regular season, so won't quite hit the same, but I think they get in week 5 in Kinnick next year, and I fully expect Iowa to take care of business, especially with Nebraska kind of in shambles. Dylan Raiola looks like he's maybe out the door, so we'll see what happens with them going forward. But let's talk just a bit more about this game. I talked about Iowa's offense off the rip there, running the ball well. Mark Gronowski, I think it was his best, overall passing game in an Iowa uniform this season. And talking about DJ Vanami breaking out as well. What stood out to you on that side of the ball in this game for Iowa, and some things that might potentially have you excited going forward into 2026?
Kelvin can go on this one. I'll chime in after he's on.
Okay. I just logged in because I didn't know you had anybody else. So anyway, I love listening to T. Hink and you. So, and I reiterated that I'm on a podcast and T. Hink comments, and I complimented him the other night. But the offense, I thought execution.
Yep.
Finally executing, dialed up some plays, and just that's pretty much it. The Vanami and Vander Zee, and I thought everybody executed pretty well, and our great offensive line always shows up. So
yeah, what I saw in the passing game last Friday, it was good to see Vanami take a step forward. The tight end room next year, it may be one of the best since probably Hawkinson and Fant, I would say, because I think Strenga is coming back next year. So Vanami and Strenga could be a 1-2 punch there at tight end. So it'd be good to see how that takes place. But like what I saw in Reese Vander Zee, that one catch that when they were driving, just like the last touchdown, I think the game. And Mark Gronowski probably threw one of his best balls probably all season to Reese on that go route. So that was good to see. I'm glad that Reese has got a couple more years. Hopefully nobody poaches him nobody poaches him to go to the transfer portal this year, because I think he's one of the top end receivers that we've had probably in a while. So it's good to see. Hopefully Reese can stay healthy going into next year and not start halfway through our football season. So
I think one thing that nobody mentions is a guy that's going to be hard to replace next year is we only have one tight end that's a super blocker. Hayden Large is Mr. Pancake, and we're going to miss him in the running game. But I'm sure that as much as Kirk emphasized blocking, that Vanami and Burt and those guys will continue to improve. So.
Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't surprise me right there. I think that's really the next step for a DJ Vanami if he wants to round out his game. You think about the Iowa tight ends outside of Noah Fant, the Iowa tight ends that have really gone on to do some great things recently in the NFL. Your George Kittle, your Hawkinson, your Laporta are willing blockers, guys that want to be able to go in there and have the ability to change the game, blocking and catching passes and receiving as well. So I think that's really the next step for Vanami. But it's really great to see him breaking out here recently. And Reese Vander Zee, I mean, I think he's only got like 15 grabs on the year because of the injury, but I feel like a third of his grabs were contested catches, one-handed snags, mossing the defender in the end zone. Like it feels like he's due for a highlight reel play about once a game. And I mean, 6'4", a guy that can go up and get it. I mean, I really like Reese Vanderzee's game, and I hope that he doesn't get poached, obviously, in the transfer portal, and he can return next year, and hopefully Iowa can keep, you know,
he's a pretty dedicated Hawkeye. So
yeah,
I wouldn't expect that. Most guys that get poached are usually out of state guys or something. And I'm sure that he's due for a pay raise. Lutmer and Lauk and Pieper, and I don't know if Entringer will come back, but all four of them guys are going to be making good money for Iowa next year. So
I would even argue a Jaden Montgomery too. I think he filled in really well for Jaden Harrell at that linebacker spot. He's someone that could be.
He'll get 5th-year money.
Yeah.
Anyway,
can he come back next year, Montgomery? Or I thought he was a senior.
No, he's got another year.
He's a junior, I believe, and so he'll be. Yeah, with Shire and with Harrell graduating, he'll be, you know, one of those guys that's relied upon in that linebacker room. What'd you thought? Because we didn't see TJ Hall on Friday, unfortunately. He was still banged up, and so we got to see some of the younger DBs for Iowa. And there, Rashad Godfrey, I thought was really impressive with his ability to wrap up and tackle. Deshaun Lee has been playing some better football here recently. Now, what are your thoughts on that Iowa DB room, knowing that they're going to have to replace TJ Hall next year, and then obviously have to replace X and maybe even Entringer as well?
I'm much more optimistic than I was 2 weeks before. You know, Deshaun Lee became a, you know, borderline. Well, he's honorable mention All Big Ten. You know, and he started out kind of slow, and Godfrey was probably might have been our defensive MVP. You know, so
yeah, I like that one. He got struck that Harburger or whatever his name was.
Yeah, like the third string tight end who Nebraska for some reason brought in to play quarterback. I mean, it was weird. They were desperate.
He used to be their quarterback.
Used to be a quarterback, and I don't know what Matt Rule's doing over there.
Yeah, but Godfrey actually got him twice. So he got him on the play where I didn't think he got a first down. And then he came in Lawrence Taylor fashion from the other side of the field, and Deshaun Lee hit Harburg down by the goal line. And here come Godfrey like Lawrence Taylor and caused the fumble that Brian Allen jumped on.
Yeah. T. Hank, did you have anything else to say about the DBs? Because I thought Jalen Watson played some good snaps this year as well. I'm excited to see what he can do next year.
I think those two guys are – because I think Deshaun's done, right? Or has he got one more?
He's got one more year. He was a junior this year.
Yep. He's got another year.
I like what I saw in those two guys. I thought they were pretty good. I think Rashad, he's going to come in, and I think he probably has the head nod this year or next year. I honestly thought the defense was actually losing a lot. I mean, if you go through it, they're only losing really their linebackers were okay this year. I mean, if they got Montgomery back, they're only really losing the D line. So, and it sounds like Barnes and Kirk are going to the portal this year to get some more defensive linemen. So I think you need to have about 7 to 8, 9, 10 guys on the defensive line to keep subbing guys out. I think in like 2010, they didn't have enough guys, and I think we got toasted. So I think having a lot of guys in the D line is something we need to attack in the portal. And if Cohen comes back, I mean, the DB room won't be terrible if Cohen comes back. Because you got Lutmer back, Deshaun Lee's back, Montgomery's back. So, I mean, the back half is not terrible.
I agree. And keep an eye on Cam Buffington next year. He was a freshman linebacker this year. He had that pick against Minnesota in garbage time, but he's someone that, you know,
Preston Reese, he looks good.
And Preston Reese on special teams really flashes. So I always got a couple of young linebackers there who, you know, wouldn't shock me at all if we're sitting here this time next year talking about Cam Buffington being an all conference linebacker, you know, even an honorable mention by chance. I think he's really a guy that could break out next year in a starting role.
I don't even know that Jaden Montgomery starts next year.
Yeah. I mean, Iowa's got some really exciting names in that linebacker room.
Another senior next year that they love is Van Kekerix.
Yep.
He'll be a senior next year, and he plays like that Leo position.
That's what Rex Roth was playing this year.
Yeah. I know they don't play a lot, but again. But.
Is Brian Allen, can he come back?
Oh, yeah.
He's got one more year, I think.
Okay. So Brian Allen, he's probably in the conversation to start. You got Hawthorne, he can come back.
Hawthorne will start, yeah.
Both of them will get paid.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the only two real returners in the defensive line. We actually lose like 7 or 8 starters.
Yeah.
Just like last year. Of course, Phil just reloaded this year. I can't believe
that's what he does
when I think about the defense this year, I think, the defensive line was okay. I thought they'd be better.
Mm-hmm.
I thought we'd have way more defensive ends, quarterback pressure. And the linebackers, I thought I was pretty much didn't think they played up to par. They're all right. And then the secondary, I thought outplayed what I thought they would be.
Mm-hmm.
But the defense was like number 8 in the country, so they were way better than the sum of the parts, in my view.
I mean, it's the Phil Parker effect right there. Like if you have worries about Iowa replacing talent on the defensive side of the ball, I would urge you to take a deep breath and to calm down and just trust in Phil Parker and these guys to get it right. I think Iowa's defense is going to pick up right where they left off next year. There might be some early drop off. It might take some time for that unit to get going, but I have full faith in Phil Parker. I think the special teams next year is a really interesting conversation. Obviously, you're losing Caden Weechin, who, I mean, it's just unbelievable. Won the Jet Award yesterday for the second year in a row, the only player in Big Ten history to ever do that. Obviously, a first-team all-conference player by the coaches and the media. I mean, a guy who has just been fantastic for Iowa these last 2 years, making big plays, flipping the field. Even when he's not getting returns, punters are punting it out of bounds, shaking punts just to keep it out of his hands. And so that's a big loss right there for Iowa. Same with Drew Stevens. I know a guy that he's gotten some flack over his time at Iowa, a bit inconsistent here and there, but he's Iowa's all-time leader in field goals made. I mean, that's a guy that is going to be a big loss as well. And so for me, the special teams are going to be very interesting, especially that return man role. I know Zach Lutmer was mentioned as someone who might hop back there to return punts and potentially kicks next year. I'm really curious to see what LeVar Woods does with that unit because they're losing a lot of talent, but overall, like Iowa special teams have usually been pretty consistent over LeVar Woods' tenure there. And so I have faith that he'll find the right guys to fill those roles.
The other day, LeVar mentioned a walk-on Jackson Nave.
Yep.
He's an Iowa City kid that went to, I don't know if he went to Iowa Western or where he come from, but
it was Iowa Western. I wrote a story about Jackson Nave. And
cool.
He went to the same. It was Iowa Western, which is where Caden Weechin went for a couple of years as well, and they're excited. Kirk Ferentz, I think, also mentioned, and LeVar Woods mentioned that he was a guy that could be filling a return role next year.
Cool.
Like what I saw in Brody Schaefer, the new signee from Wisconsin, I think.
Yeah.
Wisconsin. Sounds like a Cooper DeJean. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what they do with the special teams. I'm urging fans to be patient and to not quit on Reese Dakin quite yet. I know Iowa fans' expectations for punters are higher than any other program in the entire country's expectations for punters because of what Tory Taylor did in his 4 years here. But Reese Dakin, I know it wasn't the outstanding sophomore year that a lot of fans thought he was destined for after a pretty good freshman campaign. But I would urge fans to be patient with Reese Dakin. I think this is a guy with a lot of talent and a guy that he's he's close. He's close to being a really good punter. He just wasn't able to get as many pins into the 20, into the 15. Missed on those. Had a couple shanks here and there, but I mean, my favorite stat with Reese Dakin is that last year he punted 64 times, and this year he punted, I think it was 39 times, which tells me Iowa's offense took a big step forward. If you're cutting your punts almost in half from one year to the next, that means your offense is getting more first downs, putting more points on the board. And so I would urge people to not panic about Reese Dakin quite yet. Is he going to be Tory Taylor? No. But, odds are you're not going to find a punter as good as Tory Taylor again for a long time. And so I would urge fans to be patient with Reese Dakin. I think he's going to have a really good junior year.
Did we sign a kicker? Because Drew's
not yet. Not yet, but we got a true freshman named Burr from Bettendorf here. I live in the Quad Cities. He's a really good kicker.
Is he?
They're gonna get a punter. They're gonna get a kicker. Tyler Barnes said that today in an interview. Whether they're portal guys or high school guys, because they lose Ty Nissen, the backup punter, who also has been the holder for 2 years. That's a very important position. I think young Fitzgerald's been the backup holder. Hope he stays. Finally have a quarterback that's a holder. Somebody didn't throw the ball, but anyway.
Right.
Oh, well, it's funny you bring up quarterback, Kelvin, because I can't believe it's already been almost a half hour and we still haven't talked about Iowa's quarterback.
Kind of refreshing
for next year. I know, because I mean they're losing their guy. Also, Landon there in the chat, there is your call-in number. There's a link in the chat right above where you commented, and if you put that link into your browser, you can hop in. You can join the. I can join the conversation. I do have a quad box option potentially, so if we want to, if you want to really go crazy.
I didn't know you had T-Hink, or I wouldn't even have logged on. I just didn't want you to have to carry the show by yourself.
I wanted to come say hello to Zach. It's been a couple weeks since I've been on, so
it was Thanksgiving last week, and Iowa didn't play a great game versus Michigan State. To be honest, they were probably lucky to win that game there at the end, but you feel a lot better after that Nebraska game. And the quarterback position next year, because Mark Gronowski is graduating, I've heard some people comment, like, can he pull a Diego Pavia and try and get an extra year or whatnot? It's not going to happen. Iowa's going to be bringing in or starting a new quarterback next year. Obviously, there's some in-house options, as we saw Hank Brown a bit this year. Jeremy Heklinski was the backup late in the season. It's going to be some recruits potentially as well. Traden Bessinger, I know, is a guy that Iowa fans are pretty excited about. 4-star. He's not going to play as a true freshman, obviously, but he'll be in that room. Does Iowa hit the portal again for a guy, or do you kind of trust the in-house options? And because I think fans are going to be very mixed on that front.
Go for it, Calvin.
Well, I know what Tyler Barnes said today. He said, as long as we keep our quarterbacks we got, we won't go into the portal. Yeah. Hopefully Hank Brown stays, and Heklinski isn't so far ahead that he doesn't think he has a chance, because Hank's a talented guy too. And hopefully we keep Fitzgerald. He said the plan was always to have 6 quarterbacks on the roster. But with the cut down to 105, their plan is to have 4 scholarship quarterbacks and a walk-on at all times. So
that's going to be Brown, Heklinski, Bessinger, and Sullivan, yeah.
And Fitzgerald.
If he doesn't go to Michigan State.
Yeah.
And they really like Fitzgerald in practice and stuff. He actually reminds you of Gronowski if you look at both of their high school tapes. I've done recruiting for 40 years, so I watched all them tapes and everything. So I'm gonna check out, because you got a guest, you got a Hink, and I don't like to. I'm such a talker. I like to give other people a chance to talk. So okay.
Hey, we appreciate you hopping on, Kelvin. Always a pleasure to talk
Yep.
Hawks with you, and hopefully we could talk about an Iowa bowl game next week or the week after that, and see where they're heading. Are they heading to Tampa potentially? We'll find out on Sunday.
They're going to Tampa. So.
Yep, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yep. You guys
thanks,
have
Kelvin.
a good one.
Have a good night.
You as well, Kelvin. Thank you. All right, let's continue the conversation here with T. Hink. We're talking, I mean, we kind of skipped right ahead to next year, but I think that's a really interesting conversation. And we can keep talking about that in a little bit. But let's hone it back to this season for Iowa. 8-4 in 2025. I think if you told a lot of fans that before the regular season kicked off, a lot of people would probably be like, yeah, it's about where I had Iowa in 2025. And I think when you put in, that they lost all 4 of their games, all the ranked opponents by a combined 15 points, there's, that definitely hurts a lot more than just losing 4 normal games. But just on the surface, if you had to give Iowa a letter grade for the 2025 season based on preseason expectations, how you thought the team was going to be, how things actually ended up going down, what would you give Iowa if you pull out the red pen here?
For letter grade, I'm going to give it a B+.
Yeah.
And the reason why I give it a B+, and I was going to get into this conversation with you because I wanted to see what your thoughts were, but I will give my thoughts and then I can let you give what I was going to throw back to you.
Sounds good.
For why I think it's a B+, Mark was brought in for a 1-year rental. We all know that he's only going to be here for 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, he was a winner. In every game we were in, we had this lead and the defense kind of let it down, or he took us down the field and we were in the lead to win the game. The reason why I give it a B+ is we could not get it off the back of having a ranked win. Either Indiana, or not Ohio State. We did not play them. I get Ohio State because Michigan and Ohio State played last week, and they had the graphic of Ohio State beat Iowa. So I need to get that out of my head. And Indiana, Penn State. I think Penn State was probably their best win of the season. Maybe Minnesota because it's the schedule and how many games Minnesota won. And they played Oregon tight. That was one of the greatest drives I've ever seen, probably since the 2015 Big Ten Championship, where it wasn't really a drive, but where Iowa went from Beathard to Devon Smith for the touchdown and the whole stadium was going wild. Yep. I think of that 95-yard drive as Mark Gronowski put us in the position to win the game, and he got her done. We just could not finish it on the defensive side.
Yeah.
Another reason why I think it was a B+ season and not lower, I will take this season over an 8-4 season with this schedule that rather than the 10-2 season in whatever season we went with Beacon Hill and we went 10-2 and got
23. Yeah.
In the Big Ten title game.
Yeah.
And in 23, we weren't even close. We couldn't even put up a point against some of the high major teams. This year, we actually put up a fight, and personally, we were really close. We just cannot finish. And that's why I think next year will be the season where we can decide if it's another higher grade or if we take a step lower. Because I think we're closer than what most fans think. I know it sucks we didn't beat one of those teams this year, and we're still Iowa, so to even see that we're close, we were probably the only team that really put up a fight with Indiana all season long. Same with Oregon. Indiana beat Oregon, but other than that, they kind of boat raced everybody.
Yep.
The USC game, we had that in the first half, and then we just went ultra conservative, and we lost the game and we were probably a toe from half a centimeter from winning that game as well. Yep. And a lot of games this year, we could play that what if factor of the Iowa State where it's a double tip. We probably could have won that game. The Indiana game where we complete a screen pass, and it's probably a house call. The Oregon game, I mean, you can't play much better defense than what Deshaun Lee did. That was a NFL type play. And then we kind of went over the USC game. So I honestly think I would take this 8-4 season. The season was great, in my opinion. We were in games. I know they all sucked because we won the games we should have won, but we didn't win the games that we were not favored to win, but we are in the game, which makes it worse because then you're just like a gut punch. So that's why it kind of makes us suck. That's why it sucks. But after watching the season back, I would take this 8-4 season. I think this 8-4 season was a lot better than last year's 8-4 season. What's your opinion on that? Do you think would you take? I'll throw it at you guys. Would you take the 10-2 season with being in the Big Ten championship game over this 8-4 team, or would you take this 8-4 team over that 10-2 team in the Big Ten championship?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think this 8-4 team is miles better than that 10-2 team. I mean, offensively, it's not even a question. Defensively, you probably give it to that 2023 team just because they carried so much of a load in that season, and always getting a chance to play for a Big Ten title was special. Especially with Iowa probably not getting back there for a while with the new rule changes. But I think I would take this season just because this team was better, and this. I said it a couple of times, on this show and just in passing, like this is probably this is easily my favorite Iowa football team to watch since probably 2019 at least with Nate Stanley. It's my favorite team of this decade by far, just because like they sort of pulse offensively and that's all I've asked for from Iowa these last 5 years. Like you have to show a pulse. You can't be a punching bag nationally, with your offense, and that improved a lot. And a lot of that is Mark Gronowski and what he brought here. Do I wish Iowa had one more year with Mark Gronowski. I think
I'd take
him with a full off season, healthy, to work with this system. I think Iowa would be very dangerous next year if that were the case. Unfortunately, it's the 1 year with Mark Gronowski, and then he's done. But he was good. He was good. The passing numbers were not there all season long, and whether it was scheme, whether it was him, struggling to get going early in the year, some wide receiver injuries, receivers not getting open, like it was kind of a myriad of different things. Iowa's passing game still wasn't fantastic this year, but the running game was so much better. Mark Gronowski made plays with his legs that I haven't seen an Iowa quarterback do in forever.
Ever.
Maybe ever.
Thanks.
I think Brad Banks probably was the last guy who was able to do that.
Maybe CJ, but CJ kind of got hurt in 2015. I think
he got hurt there at the end.
Injury killed him.
Yeah, but like Mark Gronowski, and he's just a gamer. He's a gamer.
Big time gamer.
Like he's a guy that outside of that Iowa State game early on, which was his second game, and they're still kind of getting into the rhythm. And I think Tim Lester didn't do him any favors in that game. Outside of that game, like every time this season where Iowa needed to drive, where they needed to play late in the clutch, Mark Gronowski delivered. And unfortunately, he didn't get to finish that game versus Indiana, because I think if he does, Iowa wins that game. And his defense let him down, unfortunately, in the Oregon game. And he almost led them back in that USC game after the big first half. And if Caden Wheatson wears one size smaller shoes, Iowa might be able to tie that game.
Yep.
I mean, what an insane fourth down throw there for him. I mean, he's just a gamer. I think that's really the best way to describe Mark Gronowski. And I wonder what the fan perception of him is going to be in 5 years, because Iowa fans love to fall in love with quarterbacks. Ricky Stanzi is beloved in Iowa City, and because of what he did those couple of years as a starter. CJ Beathard for that 2015 season. People kind of overlook his 2016 season, which wasn't as great, because of what he did in 2015, because of what Iowa was able to accomplish that season. Even Nate Stanley as well. People are able to overlook the flaws when they have a quarterback that they love and that made some big plays. And so I wonder what Mark Gronowski is going to be viewed as, his public perception from Iowa fans in 5 years. Because he's a guy that was a gamer. He made plays. Iowa didn't win the big game with him, which might hurt that perception a little bit. But I really do think that Mark Gronowski is going to be a guy that fans are gonna love talking about, and he'll be one of of those quarterbacks that you remember that you'll be talking with your friend in 8 years. You'll be like, oh yeah, like remember Mark Gronowski's 60-yard run versus Penn State to win that game, or or his drive versus Oregon that ultimately came up short. Like he's got some moments that are really special, and so it's been a fun season with him. He's gonna play the bowl game. I'd be shocked if he doesn't play in that bowl game. And I mean, what he's been able to do on the ground, rushing touchdowns wise, Mark Gronowski's been a lot of fun. And I think overall, I'm probably right there with you with that B+ on Iowa's season, maybe a B, because it sucks. It's going to be a season of what ifs forever for me. What if they can just win 2 of those 4 games that they lost? Are probably in playoff conversations right now easily, and so it's going to be a season of what ifs. But I think I'll ultimately remember this season as one of the most fun Iowa football seasons I've had in a little while, and hopefully it's the start of the next great era of Iowa football and offensive football. And it's not, if this is the highlight, if this is the best offensive year and of the next 3 to 4 years, might not look at it the same. But if this is the start of something really special with Iowa's offense going forward, I think it'll be a very beloved season.
I agree. And just kind of like transition, I know it's kind of the last game of the year. We're going to bowl prep here, find out where we're going.
Yep.
I know a lot of fans have been wondering the what if game. What are we going to do for quarterback? And are we going to go out and get another quarterback? And I've come to the point, Iowa needs to run with Hecklinski. They need to develop a quarterback. They need to show, especially if they're going to be in the high school ranks where they're going to be recruiting high school guys. They've come out and said that, and they're not going to be using the portal all the time. Then you better show a high school quarterback that you can develop them from the beginning to the end and not ruin them. So I think this is also another step in the right direction. I think you have to run with Hecklinski this year. You have to show people that you can develop a guy and not just take over the lost goods of another quarterback that was developed somewhere else. So in my opinion, I think they need to roll with Hecklinski or a quarterback that's on staff. And then I think they're going to end up moving it over to, once Hecklinski's over, then I think they're going to let their reins go down to the guy that they just got in 26, because it sounds like he's the best quarterback we've had since, was it Jake Christensen that I saw? It's Jake Christensen, the highest rated quarterback, and look what he did. He was dreadful.
He was, he was terrible. He was absolutely terrible. Oh yeah, Trayden Bessinger is the guy that you're talking about. Really exciting.
Yeah. We flipped him from Boise, and then Boise flipped the guy that was committed to Iowa, Indiana, and now he's on his 3rd school in a marriage. That was awesome. And
yeah. Who
was that guy?
I'm trying to remember the
Kelvin
name.
will know his name if he's still on here, but
yeah.
What was his name?
I'm trying to remember that guy's name.
Going to Boise State now.
I did see that, and
that was funny. He committed from Iowa, went to Indiana, and now he's on to Boise State.
I'm excited about Trayden Bessinger. He's a guy. I mean, apparently, I can't remember where I saw this at, but they talked to him about his commitment. Cash Herrera. Yep. But they talked to him about.
That's right. Thanks, Landon.
But they talked to Trayden Bessinger about why he committed to Iowa, and his worries were that the Iowa coaching staff brought him in to throw the ball, not to run the ball, and so there's some confidence there, and maybe that's just hearsay and Iowa saying what the recruit wants to hear to get him in the building potentially. But I do think there is going to be a further commitment to keep improving that passing game. Obviously, Iowa's always going to be a run first, a ground and pound style offense under Kirk Ferentz, and who, by the way, Kirk Ferentz did say he's coming back to coach next year, so we can squash all those rumors that he's retiring or whatnot. He's back next year, and it sounds like it's not a retirement's not a thought in his mind right now. Like he wants to go at least a few more years, and so we don't have to talk about is he retiring or not. Thank goodness I did not want to have those conversations this offseason. But I think Iowa's always going to be a ground and pound style of offense under Kirk Ferentz. But can you continue to improve the passing game? The bar is very low with Iowa. Like I'm not asking Iowa to turn into an air raid offense and throw for 400 yards and 50 attempts a game. But, can we get above, I mentioned 200 yards, which Iowa did not pass for in a single game this year. Can that kind of be can that be the bare minimum for Iowa, next year and going forward? 200 passing yards in a game and continue to run the ball, but just hit a few more plays through the air. If they can do that, I think we're talking about an offense that with Iowa's defense, with the special teams, we could be talking about some really great seasons in Iowa City if they can do that.
Yeah, just kind of looking forward to 2026 and to schedule. Not terrible. You want to pull that up? I mean, I was
kind of I can pull that up. Because they I know that Iowa does get Ohio State next year. I think is it in Columbus next year? I think it is for some reason. It's at Kinnick. Perfect. So I can.
Michigan's at Ann Arbor.
Okay. So let me pull this up here. See if
I'm really hyped for the schedule. Big Ten West written all over it.
Oh yeah. I'm cutting you off here, T. Sorry about that. I've only got the option to put this. So we'll keep it here quick. But they're home against Northern Illinois, home against Iowa State, home against Northern Iowa. I'm really excited that they get to play that in-state rival next year as well. At Illinois, home against Nebraska, home against Ohio State, home against Purdue, home against Wisconsin, at Michigan. And this isn't in order, by the way. Only the first three games we have the official date for. And then they're at Michigan, at Minnesota, at Northwestern, and then at Washington. So I lied when I said they were at Washington the last week of next year. They're not. That could be whenever. But I'm pretty sure I'm right that they don't play Nebraska on Black Friday next year because they've switched that around and whatnot. So it should be a pretty fun schedule for Iowa next year. Love that they get Ohio State in Kinnick, as Landon mentioned last time. Ohio State played in Kinnick. We know what happened, 55-24, of course, and so that'll be fun to play them there again. And at Illinois, how do they look? They're losing a lot of talent. Altmaier and Gabe Yakis and Hank Beatty are all graduating this year. So what does Illinois look like next year? I'm excited. I'm excited for this Iowa schedule. I think if you can split versus Minnesota or versus Michigan and Ohio State, somehow get a split there, handle your non-conference business, beat Iowa State at Kinnick there. I mean, we could be talking about potentially 9-10 wins next year for Iowa at the bare minimum. But we'll see. Iowa's got to take care of business, and we got to see how the roster looks first.
You got to see the roster. But beat Washington. If you lose to Michigan and Ohio State, you're right there. You just take care of business. And I'm kind of scrolling through X right now to see if Matt Campbell's got the job lined up for Penn State.
Yeah, 8 2. How about Campbell interviewing at Penn State? Penn State, first of all, completely botched their head coaching.
Let's talk about that
search. I mean, they were the first to the. I can't remember who it was that they had this analogy. I saw it on TikTok somewhere. That Penn State was the first to the buffet line, and they're still waiting to eat because they fired James Franklin in mid-October, right before the Iowa game. It's been almost 2 months since they hired or since they fired James Franklin, and in that time, all of these other coaching searches have really come to an end. James Franklin found a new job over there in Blacksburg at Virginia Tech. LSU filled their role. Florida filled their role. UCLA filled their role. Michigan State fired their coach and hired the next coach in about 24 hours. And Penn State's and they're still sitting here and they're watching candidates fly off the board left and right. And right now they're kind of getting left. They're kind of getting left at the altar right now. And I know there's a lot of Penn State fans and apparently boosters just want them to promote Terry Smith from the interim role into the full-time head coaching role. And, fans aren't a fan. I really don't want that. And now Matt Campbell is a hot name around Penn State right now. And obviously he's the Iowa State head coach. He's done a fantastic job in his decade there, turning Iowa State from, what was a pretty bottom tier, a Big 12 program into one of the premier programs in that conference, and a team that's beaten Iowa the last 2 years. And so Matt Campbell, it'd be a big loss for him. And I wonder if he leaves Iowa State for Penn State, does he bring, who comes with him? Does Rocco Becht potentially go with him and make the trip over there to Happy Valley? I know that Ethan Grunkmeyer, showed some flashes, but if you're Penn State and you have a chance to get Rocco Becht in there for his senior year, like, would that happen potentially? And who else would come with him? Obviously, that would have massive effects for Iowa next year because they play Iowa State in week 2. And so very interesting to see, as 8 Rock 2 says, Penn State boards Clem Campbell won't talk until after the season was done. Iowa State, of course, also playing in a bowl game here in December. So we'll see if Penn State is willing to wait out that bowl game for Matt Campbell. But I don't know what other options that they have right now, outside of promoting Terry Smith, which I don't think they want to do unless, because, they're recruiting. I saw that they have a worse recruiting class than Montana State right now in 2026 because because they have like 2 recruits who are still there. Everyone else has left and gone with Franklin to Virginia Tech or gone somewhere else. And so, with the transfer portal too, like, you got to be able to build a roster. Penn State needs a coach here soon. And so are they willing to wait out Matt Campbell, for a few more weeks, or do they want to get their guy in there and just start building a roster so that they can, actually compete on the field in 2026?
Yeah. I saw like over $300 million in raises that have gone out to all these coaches that have stayed put because Penn State's made a push and they go back to their affiliates and their boosters and they just freaking rack up that NIL donation and then they get a big old raise from it. Yep. So I don't know. It's kind of a laughing stock at this point. I honestly don't even feel sorry for Penn State anymore. They're one of the schools I could care less about in the Big Ten. Them and Michigan, I can't stand both of them fan bases. So I'm glad they're suffering mightily. So that's all.
And they're losing a lot of talent.
They are.
Even just the graduation with the 2 running backs and Dennis Sutton. Obviously Drew Aller, who was hurt, but he is, graduating as well. So Penn State, it's going to be a very different roster next year. That's for sure. Apparently 8 Rock 2 says they wanted to wait till after the regular season is over to talk to Matt Campbell. So they could be talking right now. We'll see if a deal gets done there. Landon says Penn State may have just wasted 2 seasons in 3 months. It's crazy the precedent that Penn State set. Like, you can win 2 playoff games in January and you can be fired in October if things aren't going well. And I think they've completely butchered this entire process. And if they don't get Matt Campbell, man, I
don't know where they go.
I don't know what's going to happen there. I know some people have thrown out some wild options. Mike Tomlin. I think it was Ben Roethlisberger come out and said that Mike Tomlin should just move over to Happy Valley and coach Penn State next year. And obviously that's not going to happen. But
no.
Penn State could start getting really desperate here if Matt Campbell decides he wants to say names, which I could very well see him wanting to do that.
I'm glad we're not going through this situation with Kirk. I'm glad he's back next year. The coaching market this year has been brutal. And there's nobody that, has really caught my eye. Do you really want Lane Kiffin, that guy screwing with your program for 6 years and moving on?
What a joke he is. And I'm going to cut you off here, but Lane Kiffin, good. I've never really been a big Lane Kiffin guy. He has messy exits everywhere that he leaves. He was fired on the tarmac at USC and he left after 1 year at Tennessee, and Nick Saban fired him the week of the national title game when he was the offensive coordinator at Alabama because he wasn't focused enough on the Alabama team because he was trying to be the head coach of whoever program he went next, and now
wasn't some Florida school or
it was
something.
some Florida school, and then with the Raiders, it was a messy
yeah.
exit from him there, and then now with Ole Miss, like I mean, every day there's just new details here, and Lane Kiffin, I just don't get this guy. Like he's trying to flip the narrative and act like the victim in this situation where he's like, I wanted to coach Ole Miss in the playoffs so bad, and the players wanted me to coach them so bad, but Ole Miss said I couldn't do it, and so they're the villains here, and I'm I had no choice but to go to Baton Rouge to be the LSU head coach, and then you have current Ole Miss players quote tweeting his statement saying that's not true, like you must have been in a different room than we were, like we didn't back you up like that, and it's just a complete disaster there. I wouldn't sniff Lane Kiffin with a 10-inch pole.
I wouldn't either.
If I was a football program, because there's no loyalty there. I mean, he can say all he wants about LSU and go Tigers and all this stuff, but the minute the Alabama job, if that comes open anytime within the next 4 to 5 years, he's gone like that.
Yep.
There's no commitment there from this guy. There's no loyalty. If I was a college football AD, I would not want anything to do with Lane Kiffin. When he's actually coaching, I mean, yeah, he's done a pretty good job at some of these programs, especially Ole Miss. But I mean, just leaving them out high to dry when they have a chance to host a playoff game in a few weeks. I mean, I just no thanks with that guy. I'll pass on anything Lane Kiffin related. He's a clown, in my opinion, and I've got nothing else to say about him. What a joke.
I'm glad Ole Miss cut the seals on that.
I mean, good on Ole Miss. Really good on Ole Miss.
Why would you want the soon-to-be coach of a rival in the same conference literally going to be recruiting those guys that are on the current team over to your new team? I mean,
yeah.
Did you think that was really going to happen? I mean, it makes sense if you're a group of 5 and you're going up to a Power 4 conference, but did you honestly really think that they were going to let that happen?
No, it's ridiculous. But hey, he gets to coach his daughter's boyfriend now, Whit Weeks, the LSU linebacker, is dating Lane Kiffin's daughter, and so
congrats. I thought he was out the door with the transfer portal, but that was probably some legit bot.
Now he's going to stay. Whit Weeks has got to get in good with his potential father-in-law if that goes down. Yeah. If things keep going that way with him, but Lane Kiffin, I wouldn't want. But man, Penn State, I mean, it's a mess.
Penn State's a top 10 job, man. I thought Penn State would have a coach by now. I mean,
well, they should have had a coach by now, but they botched.
Don't you think that job's a top 10 job in the country? I think it may be a top 5.
Yeah, I mean, with the level of recruiting that you're able to do there, the NIL, I'm sure that the NIL budget there is huge. I mean, you're playing in front of sellouts every week. You're in one of the best conferences in all of college football.
3, or maybe not top. Maybe it's top 5 in the Big Ten, because now you got USC, which is USC a bigger program than Penn State? I don't know.
It's close.
It's close, but I don't know if they're that far apart.
Yeah.
Oregon, I mean, it probably goes Ohio State, Oregon, Michigan, and who knows with Indiana. I don't know with that situation. Maybe he's a real deal. I keep counting him out, but if he keeps doing this every year, anybody's going to go after that coach. I don't care if they keep giving him a raise. He'll be out the door, and no way in heck he stays there like Kirk Ferentz in 27 years.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see with Kurt Cignetti over there at Indiana. But, the coaching carousel keeps spinning for Penn State. I'm sure they're getting pretty dizzy right now and just wanting to hop off and hire someone. But maybe it's Matt Campbell. We'll see.
We'll see. Maybe we'll find out in 24 hours.
If this time next week they haven't hired anyone, I mean, good Lord, it's gonna be a mess. And I mean, we'll see what happens with Penn State. I'm just really glad that I was not having to worry about that. Kirk Ferentz
coaching carousel this year is
steady.
Brutal, so
yeah, it's been.
I really don't. I'm one of those guys that don't want to in-house hire unless it's Tim Lester. Or Phil Parker. Phil Parker wants it, then either one of those coordinators. If it's one of the offense or defensive coordinator, then we can promote inside. But I don't want it to be a position coach. And I'm going to leave it right there because you probably have a lot of things to get to today on Hawkeyes Wire, so I don't want to keep you held hostage on the show.
No, it's all good, Hink. Excuse me. Thanks for hopping on with me. I appreciate you talking everything Iowa.
Yeah,
it's been a blast, and we'll talk to you here soon. We're gonna know Iowa's bowl opponent and location at this time next week, so we can preview that and who's going to play, who's going to leave.
They were all wanting Tampa, but I kind of want it to be the Las Vegas Bowl this year. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just change of scenery. But when I saw your notification, I saw the notification bell turned on.
Yeah.
I thought I did not know it was Thursday today. When I saw it, I'm like, well, I'm sorry. Positions towards the college show tonight. So So it happened at 6 o'clock. So everyone else is more than welcome to call in. It's a great platform to rant about Iowa, or you can give your opinions. It's a great platform to do that. So
every Thursday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, we're here on Iowa at the Voice of College Football. So please, I'll put that link in the chat every week. Right there at the top of the chat, you're able to just put it into your browser, and I'll let you on. We can talk about whatever you want, Iowa football related. We'll see if we want to open it up here to some basketball stuff going forward. I'll talk to Mark Rogers and see what the rules are there with that on this channel. But
hopefully we can get Josh back on just for one episode to see.
I'm hoping. I'm gonna ask Josh. I'm hoping maybe he has some time next Thursday, 15, 20 minutes to hop on and give his thoughts on the Iowa 2025 season and the bowl opponents.
Synopsis on that, because I know Calvin Fisher, he liked Josh, because I know Calvin, he has a podcast with three other guys, and he mentioned them on Sunday, you too. Calvin's good. He's a good podcaster, so he's another guy that good listen to. So.
We got lots of great Iowa podcasts here and shows to tune into. So thank you, Tink, for hopping on.
No problem. I'll get you all later. So everyone have a good evening, and go Hawks.
Always go Hawks right there. Thank you for hopping on right there. Gosh, we are at that hour mark now, surprisingly. We talked about me, T. Hink, and Kelvin Fisher talking about Iowa football, in 2025 and 2026 for a while now, and we've gone over that hour mark, and I know we got some Thursday night football tonight in the NFL, and a weekend of conference championship football going on here. So I'm not going to keep you any longer with that. It's been a blast talking about Iowa here through the regular season, and now heading into bowl season and eventually the off season. I'm excited to keep going with that, and keep talking Hawks. It's fun. There's it's never ending news cycle in the college football world, and I'm excited to keep going with that. It's been a blast for me, and I'm sure for everyone else tuning in and who hopped on the call with me. Thank you, as Kelvin says, go Lions here tonight. But thank you all for tuning in to Iowa Primetime Live, Iowa at the Voice of College Football. I will talk to you all next Thursday at the same time, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, to talk about Iowa's bowl game, bowl opponent, bowl location, all of that good stuff. Iowa finishes 8-4, beats Nebraska 40-16, and we all celebrate another beatdown of the Cornhuskers. Thank you all for tuning in to Iowa Primetime Live. Have a great night, everybody. And of course, as always, go Hawks.